Okay, madam. So,
Assalamu alaikum and very good evening. Welcome to our today's workshop on emotional intelligence in classroom teaching, organized by the Faculty of Business, Northern University, Bangladesh. We know emotional intelligence involves a set of skills that can be learned and developed. It refers to the capability of a person to manage and control his or her emotions and possess the ability to control the emotions of others as well. It actually incorporates some non-cognitive skills like self-awareness, self-regulation, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills. In many countries of the world, one of the fundamental problems teaching learning process is related to classroom leadership and discipline. Classroom leadership and discipline play an important role in making effective classroom teaching. One of the factors that influence the effective management in classroom teaching is emotional intelligence. This emotional intelligence of teachers influence the leadership and discipline in the classroom. Generally, the objective of teaching is to enhance and improve students' academic performance and instill them with intrinsic motivation to learn. In this case, focusing only on academic development through traditional teaching is not enough. That's why it is very, very important to have emotional intelligence in teaching to instill the students with motivation to learn. Hence, the workshop on emotional intelligence in classroom teaching will help to increase the effectiveness in teaching learning outcome in classroom teaching. Today, all of these issues and key determinants of emotional intelligence in classroom teachings will be discussed and focused by our honorable guests and experts from different universities of the world. For today's session, our chief guest was our honorable chairman, Professor Dr. Abu Yusuf Muhammad Abdullah, Northern University, Bangladesh. Since he is very busy, so we will discuss about our other key and resource persons and obviously the guests. We are also very delighted and honored that four internationally recognized resource persons present with us who are going to share their valuable ideas in different key components of emotional intelligence in classroom teaching. Today, we have with us Professor Dr. Ajanta Dharmasri, Director and Chairman of the Board of Management, Postgraduate Institute of Management, PIM, University of Sri Jayawardhanipura, Sri Lanka. We also have Professor Dr. P. Priyadarshini, Professor and Head Management Studies, Tagore Engineering College, India. Professor Dr. Arhan Sthapit, Professor of Management, Nepal Open University, Nepal, as well as Professor Dr. Ejaz Ahmed, Dean of Division of Business, Columbia College, South Carolina, USA. Professor Dr. Anwar Hossain, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Northern University, Bangladesh, will be present here as our session chair. Hopefully, he will join with us. Professor Dr. Nozrul Islam, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor and Dean of Faculty of Business, Northern University, Bangladesh, is present today as the chair of technical session. Honorable guests and dear viewers, this is Farzana Chaudhuri, Senior Lecturer, Northern University, Bangladesh. Want to welcome you once again in our today's session. Today's program is divided into two parts. Now we are going to see the first part, I mean to say inaugural session. At the beginning, may I request Professor Dr. Nozrul Islam, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor and Dean of Faculty of Business, Northern University, Bangladesh, for his welcoming speech. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much. Respected resource persons of this web conference on emotional intelligence in classroom teaching, Professor Dr. Ajanta Dharmasri is the Director and Chairman of the Board of Management of Postgraduate Institute Management, PIM, University of Sri Jayawardhanipura, Sri Lanka. Professor Dr. Priyadarshini, Professor and Head, Management Studies, Tagore Engineering College, Chennai, India. Professor Dr. Arhan Thapit, Professor of Management, Nepal Open University, Nepal. Professor Dr. Ejaz Ahmed, Dean of Division of Business, Entrepreneurship and Technology, Columbia College, South Carolina, USA. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Anwar Hussain, Chief Guest of today's program, Honorable Chairman of Northern University Bangladesh Trust, Professor Dr. Abu Yusuf Muhammad Abdullah, my dear colleagues, participants, Assalamu alaikum and very good evening to all of you.
Walaikum assalam, sir.
As the topics shows that it is on teaching, classroom teaching. And all of us here today connected here in this workshop are the teachers, are the faculty members of Northern University Bangladesh, and also some of the faculty members that are attending from outside. So as Ms. Farzana was telling that the emotional intelligence is very important in today's classroom teaching, where all of us are involved. You know, faculty members are with too many lessons, too many students are in our classes, and too many things are needed to do by the faculty members. We need to face the challenges like problematic students group in classroom, crowded classroom, demotivated classroom, and so on. So under these circumstances, how to continue our classroom teaching with highest level of effectiveness is a challenge, is a question in front of us. So emotional intelligence can help us to face certain stressful situations, to help us to solve some stressful situations, and it can help us to increase the effectiveness of our classroom teaching. So the webinar organized today, I hope that this webinar will be highly useful for the faculty members of Northern University of Bangladesh, and it will help them to solve the classroom problem and make their classroom teaching highly effective. So with this, I would like to welcome all the honorable resource persons, experts in this area, in this very important session, and also my colleagues to attend this session and continue with this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your welcome speech. Since our honorable chief guest and session chairs are very busy, so I want to request our honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Nazrul Islam, sir, to start the second session. Our honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Nazrul Islam, sir, will handle this technical session with you. Sir, I would humbly request to you to start the technical part.
Okay, thank you, Farzana. As you know that we have 4 speakers today, and all of them are experts on this issue, emotional intelligence, and its use in classroom teaching. So at first, I am not sure whether Professor Ajanta Dharmeshwari is connected here or not. Professor Ajanta, are you here? Okay, then we can connect with Professor Dr. R. Priyadarshini. You know, Professor Dr. Priyadarshini now is the professor and head of management studies, Tagore Engineering College, Chennai, India. Professor Priyadarshini is an expert on this emotional intelligence. She did her PhD on emotional intelligence. She has a good number of research papers on this very important topic. So, Professor, I would like to invite Professor Dr. R. Priyadarshini to speak on the one of the components of emotional intelligence, empathy, and the use of empathy in classroom teaching. Professor Priyadarshini.
Good evening, sir. First is my session, sir.
Yeah, please.
Okay, sir. Give me a minute, sir. Actually, I thought my session is second because,
Gauranga is not present.
oh, fine, sir. Can I have a minute, sir? So I'll
Yes,
start.
sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. Sir, give me a minute. I'll share my screen, sir. Is that my screen is visible, sir?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
visible.
Yes, okay. Okay. So, good evening to all the faculty members and warm greetings to the resource person, eminent resource persons present here. And it is my privilege to thank Dr. Nazrul sir for giving me this wonderful opportunity. So, and also the coordinators of the program, the coordinators were very wonderful in being in touch with us. So, thank you all. Dr. Nazrul sir, where I was fortunate enough to be connected with Nazrul sir. Very long back, he was telling that I wanted to do a program for our community of teachers. He was stating that they are the people who are facing lot of problems, lot of issues. So he said, I wanted really to do a program, and he gave this idea. That is, he was working on with this idea, and he just started this idea 2 months back. But it is great of him that he has implemented in real. So that is what is that leader is like. We not only have a vision, but how far, like, successful in implementing the vision. So congratulations, sir. And thank you, sir, for giving me a wonderful opportunity. And it is also, a sudden thing for me that I'm starting this webinar because my session was in second. So I thought like there will be an introduction for emotional intelligence, and mine will be for empathy for teachers. But this is also something sudden gift for me that you are giving a privilege to start with this session. So thank you, sir, and thank you, participants. So let us move into the topic. So today I was given a task of doing a very important topic to make everyone, that is to discuss on with the forum, how empathy as one of the component of emotional intelligence is very important for teachers. So that is a task given to me, and I believe that I'll be doing this task in a better way. So what is emotional intelligence? So as a teacher, we are all expected to be very good with intelligence level. Yes, so we are expected to be a professional, we are expected to be a PG graduate holder, and we are expected to hold a doctorate, and we are expected to do even a postdoctorate. So we are in an environment where we have to cope up with intelligence. So that is what is our IQ, that is our intelligence quotient. Is that can we say that alone is important for us to be as a teacher? No, definitely it is not so. So what is the other dimension we need for us to be as a teacher? So that is what is the dimension which today the entire forum is going to discuss. That is what is called as emotional intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence is, it is the ability to understand our emotion, and it is the ability to understand the other people emotion and how we handle it in a better way. So that is what is called as the emotional intelligence. So why we say it is a intelligence? Why we don't say it as a skill, emotional skills? No, it is intelligence because understanding of our own emotion, we need a intelligence. So whether we are in a good mood or whether we are in anger or whether we are happy or whether we are not, whether we have a joy or whether we are in a sorrow. So there are 230 main emotions, which is stated in the research. So how do we understand our emotion and how do we understand other people emotion and how do we handle it? So now coming to the topic. So why is it very much for a teacher? So why it is needed for a teacher? So we as a teacher, we spend our average time of 10 hours out of the 24 hours in a day. On an average, we spend 10 hours with the student community. So you imagine the 10 hours in a week, we are spending 60 hours, and imagine in a month, we are spending 240 hours, and imagine in a year, it goes to 4,800 hours. So that is the time we spend with our students. It is more than the time we spend with our own kids and even with our family. The more than that, we spend more time with our students. So when we are dealing with students, it is not that we deal only with the roll number or we don't deal with only the name of the students. We deal with the emotions of the students. We deal with the culture they come from. We deal with the problems they bring to the college. So that is becomes important for a teacher to understand this emotional intelligence and to understand one of the dimension of emotional intelligence, that is empathy for teachers. So with this note, I would like to go to my session. So I would like to start with the quote of the day. So the quote of the day is, learning is a result of listening, which in turn leads to even better listening. The more you listen, you become a very good listener, and attentiveness to the other person. In other words, to learn from the child. So our students are like our child. To learn from the child, we must have empathy, and empathy grows as we learn. So we all should be a good listener and we all should be a good empathetic teacher. So as I told you, teaching is only 1/4 of the preparation and 3/4 in theater. So what is that 3/4 of a theater is what we execute in the classroom. So that is what is that 3/4 in the theater. So the major part of a teacher is what we do in our classroom. So it becomes very important for us to be a delivery of our sessions or delivery of our emotions or delivery of us as a teacher in the classroom. So that is what is called as the good teaching. So there are so many teachers are here. So I would like to start with a whistle blow. So what we all aim for. So we wish to be a teachers or we wish to be a great teacher. Can I have answers in the chat? Just let's see, try to be active. So we all wish to be teachers or we all wish to be a great teacher. Can I have answers in the chat box?
Of course, great teacher.
Yes, we all, of course. So the more we hear that, why I asked the query in the chat is, I wanted to feel that how we as a teacher wanted to be a great teacher. So we don't want to be just as a teacher. We wish to be a great teacher. So I believe that you all are very curious how to become a great teacher. So I have a simple tool for it. So what is that we can be as a great teacher? The great teacher is one who empathizes with kids, respect them, and believe that each one has something special that can be built upon. So that is what is a great teacher. So a great teacher is the one who could empathize. We could empathize our kids. We could empathize their feelings and we can respect them. And we have to believe that they have something that is special which can be built upon. So why is empathy very important for students? So the pioneer of emotional emotional intelligence is the Daniel Goleman. So the book of the Daniel Goleman on emotional intelligence created a, and it was started in the year of 2000, and now when it is in a 2020, the emotional intelligence have been evolved into different levels of intelligence. So with the start of the Goleman, so he has quoted that students who can recognize feelings or better adjusted emotionally, and they are more popular, outgoing and sensitive. So it is said that the students who are very good in emotional intelligence are also very good in academics and very good in resilience. Resilience is how you understand the people in a better way and respond to it in a proper way. So that was the study. It was proved by Daniel Goleman in the year 1995. So, but challengingly, nowadays, the research has stated that the students, the skill of emotional intelligence and the skill of emotions has gone down. So it is because of one of the major enemy and a major the giant which blocks them is the digital media. I believe you teachers agree. Yes. So now whatever is that, the students believe more on digital, and they spend more time in digital than they spend time in the communicating their feelings, or than they express their emotions. The major time they spend in digital world. So they are in their own world. So you have a lot of benefits in social media, but the drawbacks of social media is where your emotional intelligence is going down. So the researchers have proved down that the students are focused more on digitals, so which affects their empathetic capacities. So it becomes very important for us as a teacher to bring out of it. And I would also like Times of India in India. Okay, it's a famous article, newspaper in India, the Times of India. So the Times of India has stated that every 1 minute, 10 students commit suicide. Okay, so it was the a case which was reported recently. That is the suicidal rates of student community is increasing in the last 3-4 years. So something is very alarming. Even in this COVID period, what happened is here in our Chennai, there was a very serious suicidal issue of a student where a particular girl committed a suicide in a village where she was with so much of stress that she's not able to cope up the digital classrooms, and she was stressed that she was in the home and she's not able to meet her friends, and so that was the reason stated that she committed suicide. Okay, and the many studies have been done on the suicidal cases of students, and what was the reason it was stated is it is not the pressure of academics. We have to believe the fact. The research stated that it is not out of the pressure of academics they are committing suicide. It is not the pressure of peer groups they are committing suicide. It is not the pressure from the family. That is a final factor. But what is the pressure? They don't have someone to talk for themselves. Okay, so something is, when I studied it, I felt there was a bang on my head. The students, they feel that they don't have anyone to talk for them. They feel there is no one to hear them. So that is something, yeah, alarming issue which was discussed as a very big case. So it is, I believe it happens throughout the world. And you take in Europe or in the developed countries, still there are more suicidal rates. And even in developing country, there are so many things. So as a teacher, we should take this responsibility. So that is what is the request I place to all the teachers. So as teachers, we have to take responsibility for our students, emotional level, and we as a teacher should be more empathetic towards our students, understand them and listen to them, and to make them as a better citizens. So that is what is that. So what is a very important aspect we can do it is through our emotional intelligence. And you know, the level of understanding of students, it is classified into 3 layers. So what are all the layers? It is the peripheral layer. So peripheral layer is what we know a student from the statistical information, like where they come from, what is the family income. So that is what is the peripheral layer. Secondary layer is we get to know about their parental attitudes and what are the aims of the children, and then the parental readiness for educational involvement. So these are all the secondary layer. And third, tertiary layer is like we get to know the real life of the student, the kind of family experience they have gone through, the family atmosphere, and what are the inclination of a particular student, and what are the tendencies, whether they are a very soft guy, hard guy, whether they are emotional or whether they are intellectual. So that these are all the levels of understanding of a student. So as a teacher, we have to get into all these levels to know our student community in a better way. So how do we do that? So we have a very nice measure with us. We always, as a teacher, we see that everything in an angle of tools, angle of the research. So we are with a very good tool, that is our emotional intelligence. And in that, which is explained as a 4 quadrants, and you will have other experts to discuss on different quadrants. And I am given with the quadrant of understanding your own self. That is what is the empathy. So what is empathy? Empathy is seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. So that is what is empathy. So you see with the eyes of another. So how do we see? So you can see that in this diagram. So the black dress person is seeing from the blue eyes, and the blue dressed person is seeing through the eyes of the opposite. So you take, this is what is a binocular, you see with the eyes of another. Okay, so that is what is called as empathy, understanding emotion in other person point of view. That is what is called as the empathy. So I just tell you with a small story. So what is that better way in understanding empathy is, you know, there was a fight between 2 princes. You know, you all know Kingdom Prince. So there was a coin of 6, okay, kept on the table. Okay, one prince was telling it is 6. Other prince was telling it is 9. Yes, so the 6 and the other one was telling it is 9. Both of them were fighting, it is 6. One prince was fighting, this is 6. Other prince was fighting, it is 9. They were fighting for so many days. 6, 9, no, 6, no, 9, 6, no, 9. Like that, they were fighting for so many days. What the child did is, it came and it turned the table. Okay, so they were able to understand the 6 and 9, how it is viewed in eyes of each other. So that is what is called as empathy. Putting yourself in someone's shoes, a very common definition of empathy. But as you're dealing with emotional intelligence, understanding emotion in other person point of view is called as the empathy. So we all know that there is a sympathy and empathy. So like, you know, we used to be like, think I'm very good sympathetic person, I'm very good empathetic person. So what is that? Whether we should be sympathetic or whether we should be empathetic. So what is the difference between empathy and sympathy? So empathy is understanding the feeling of another. Sympathy is feeling pity for others. So what, as a teachers, you know, there was a research, why I'm just putting this in front of this forum is, there was a research which was conducted to understand how teachers are, whether they are empathetic or whether sympathetic. The research concluded that 80% of teachers are sympathetic, only 20% teachers are empathetic. Okay, so when the question was put before the teacher, stated that you are sympathetic, do you agree? But the teachers, they stated no, I'm more empathetic. So what is the difference between empathy and sympathy? Whether we should be empathetic teacher or sympathetic teacher. So empathy is like, you know, you understand the feeling. Sympathy is you feel pity for them. For example, your student is like, you know, stating that I have a problem in my home, so that is where I'm not able to study. So you feel pity for her. Oh God, what to do? Like that, your feeling is, that is what is sympathetic. But empathetic is you feel the pain of that particular student. So he or she is not able to do well in academics. It is because of the family problem. So you feel the pain from her point of view. That is what is called as empathetic. And the relationship. So sympathy is understanding of one's experiences and well-being. Empathy is personal understanding and care for another's struggles. You care for them. So when a student is stating your problem, you are giving a solution. You care for them. You tell them, don't worry, I'll help you. You come on, I'll make you study. That is what is empathy. The next level of sympathy. And empathy is positive and negative experiences. Both it is empathy. Sympathy is just pitying for a person for the negative experience. So you are just pitying for the negative experience. But empathy is scope is where you are turning it into a positive experience. Whatever the problem they face, you are turning out into a positive experience. That is what is called as empathy. So we as a teacher need to be more empathetic than to be more sympathetic. So a small example, empathy, sympathy is, I'm sorry that happened to you. Empathy is, I see your pain, I understand. And now we have to get into other angle that is called as compassion. So only when you cross the empathy, you get the compassion. How do you need my help? So that is what is a compassion. That is the next level. So you take a, like, you know, it is a diagram which states that compassion acts out of the intersection between sympathy and empathy. So a very simple diagram. So when something has happened, we say that, for example, the hand is broken. We just say, oh, that's bad. That is sympathetic. But how is that empathetic is, you hold the broken hand, you give your hand. So you make them feel that they are completed. So that is what is empathetic. Okay. Now coming to the types of empathy. So what are the different types of empathy? You have first type is affective empathy. So affective empathy, it involves the ability to understand another person's emotion and respond appropriately. So you are understanding their emotions. So that is what is called as affective empathy. Somatic empathy is where physical reaction in response to someone's problem. That is called as somatic empathy. So when someone is like, you know, having a problem, you express it physically. I'm also like, you know, you get to that. That is somatic empathy. Cognitive empathy is, cognitive is thinking, where you are able to understand another person's mental state. The theory, which is the theory of mind. You are able to understand the other person mental state, what they are, which state they are, and how it happens, and what could be done. So that is what is called as cognitive empathy. So we have to follow all these three things: affective, somatic, and cognitive. So like, you know, now I just told you about empathy. So you will all ask me, the next question is how to be empathetic, whether this empathetic can be learned, or whether I could attend a course for emotional intelligence, and whether I could increase my dimension. So we all get a question like that, whether I can attend a course and I can increase my emotional intelligence, or whether I could read a book and I can gain it, or by out of this workshop, at the end of the workshop, will I be high in EQ? Will I be high in empathy? So what is the answer is, it doesn't happen in a single day. It doesn't happen in one workshop, or it doesn't happen by reading a one book. So it has to be practiced. So how do we practice it? So first, a very important lesson we have to know is children learn more from who you are than what you teach. So dear all, please make a note of this. So what is that is, children learn more from who you are than what you teach. Is the same thing, which is that say this is a very nice thing. Whether you want to be a good father, good mother, or a good teacher, the first thing what we should remember is than teaching what we are. So that is what is that is makes the children learn. So it is at our home, or it is at our college, or it is in our university, or it is with our students, or with anyone. They just observe us and they learn us. So what is the first key is modeling. So you model yourself. So first, every teacher has to model themselves. So we have to model ourselves as a good teacher. So we have to model our teaching point of view in the sense metacognitive, aware of our thoughts and feelings. So that is what is the dimension of this workshop. So aware of our thoughts and feelings, that is what is called as emotional intelligence. So you want to be a good parent, you want to be a good teacher for the children. The best way is you have to model it. How do we model it? By understanding ourselves and understanding our feeling. How could you do that? Through emotional intelligence. How could you exhibit it? Through your empathy. A very simple key and very simple tool for every problems in our life. And so what is that we do out of this empathy is being in whole with them to give them a lift. So this diagram, I think you could see it. So what we do out of this empathy, so you are giving a lift for our students. You are making them to come out of their problems. You are making them to come to their destination. So we as a teacher have an important role in lives of the students. So what we could do is we could make them to being in the whole with them. So what is that is a line which I have put is being in the whole with them. So you also get into the whole. So like, you would have seen as a teacher, you would have attended a lot of workshops. They will be telling we are as a ladder, we are as a candle, teacher is a candle, teacher is a light, teacher is a ladder, and so many things. But this, what is the concept is, when they are in the hole, you also go to the hole. Okay, you get into the hole and be with them, and you be in the hole also, you give them a lift. So you take out you take up their issues and you give them the lift. So that is what. And how do we do it? By understanding them. And what are all the ways? You can do it with affective, somatic, and cognitive. You can understand their emotions. You can understand the express it through your physical things, physical expression. So what is that somatic? Already I briefed you is you when they have a problem, you also show a sad face. Oh, okay, I understand. When they are happy, you show a very smiling face. I'm happy for you. I'm ready to help you. So that is all is that. And cognitive is you understand the thinking, you understand the mental state. So what is it? Empathetic education. So a very a detailed slide is presented to you. So it is an ongoing education. So it is not one-time lesson, but a continual focus, and it is woven in. So empathy competence or integrated into content, interactions, and not tacked on, and it is meaningful. So it touches the heart and mind. It makes me and we. And the goal is for students to adopt empathy. So it is internalized. It should be internalized, and it should be student-centered, and it is for the student center, and it should respect relationship, and it is an empathetic leadership. So empathy is model, expected, and code. So this is what is the empathetic education is expected. So the final thing, so how we are to be a good empathetic teacher. So how are we to do it? As I told you, the first thing is first model it. So your students are watching you. So even when you think they are not, so we think they don't watch us, but they watch us. So we have to show compassion, positive regard, and understanding in the classrooms. So even in the halls, even in the cafeteria, even how you interact with other teachers. So this is a very much important point. That's what is called as model it. So we say that teachers are like celebrities, teachers are like personalities. So what happens when celebrities come, everyone look at them, right? So we as a teachers, we should be a good models for them, not only in the classroom, even when we go to cafeteria or when we interact with our co-teachers, or even when we when we are outside our university or our workplace. So what is the dress code we wear, what is the language we speak, and what is the way we carry on, everything is important. So that is what is modeling it. And try to communicate empathy. So we should be we should communicate, we should make them feel that we are there for them. So that is explain how one student, or even you teach moments, or even a character, you can teach it with some characters in a stories. So you can take historical stories, or you can take some autobiographies, and with that stories we can communicate empathy in the classrooms, and we can make them to think in the perspective of others. For example, you can take some history of some leader, or you can take the autobiography of some successful CEOs, and you can quote the cases, and you can make it as a case study in the classroom, and we can make them to think why that particular person was successful, what made them to behave in that way. So you are trying to communicate empathy through some moments or experience, and you also emphasize shared values and common interests. So how Dan highlighting about how learners are different, and you help them to recognize things which are common with one another. You make them to form as a groups, you make them to form hobbies, you make them to share the interest together. So what happens is you are able to understand the peer groups. So let us try to do that, where we make them to bring them with a common interest. Then we give them assignments alone, subject assignments. You can make them to do with some peer group assignments, where they identify the hobby of someone, where you form a clubs like reading clubs, or where you form entrepreneurs, or where you form even craft clubs, where like music clubs, where even spiritual clubs, where people of these people interact, and where they try to learn about emotions of others, and offer them a safe environment to discuss differences. So you just give them a belief that this environment where they can discuss. Okay, so they it is also to make them feel that differences is not bad. Okay, so we have to give them that belief. When someone comes with a difference between us and them, they say that your classroom teaching is a problem, or they feel that you're partial to one student. Don't just bang on them. So first give them a belief, give them a safe environment where they can discuss on any difference. So that is where we will be giving an open room for emotional intelligence to grow up among the students, and use self-disclosure. So I think the other speakers will be talking about the self-disclosure, self-awareness. So in EI component, so use self-disclosure. Self-disclosure is where you express your own on a very positive way, or even the negatives you did, or something happened to you, you just express it openly. So share the stories or example about your own life. You can share like how you became a teacher, how you are successful, or where you have not been successful. So you make self disclosure, so that improves the the relationship between teacher and student, that builds up the emotional bonding between the teacher and the student, and create opportunities for collaboration. So make them to work in groups. So I believe when as a Montessori's, or when children are in a kindergarten schools, they will always make them sit in groups, not in the benches. Okay, so you can see that they all will be seated in a groups. The same thing we can follow in our universities, where we can make a forums where students can sit as a group, or where they can collaborate with some assignments, and where they can discuss the platform of knowledge, or platform of their grief or anything together. And what is the outcome of empathetic, or what is the outcome of emotional intelligence? What is the outcome Dr. Nazrul sir or the VC is planning out of this forum is? So we are, the emotional intelligence is planned for a forum where we could enable the creativity of a student, making them feeling safe, emotionally connected, and there is a good collaboration, there is a negotiation, proper negotiation, identifying the needs. So they get to know what is the need. So this is the outcome of an emotionally intelligent educational system. This is the outcome of an empathetic educational system. So we are aiming for this. Every teacher has to aim for it. And only when the students are creative, only when they know what is their needs, only when they are emotionally connected, only when they collaborate, we are able to bring a good student, and where they turn out to be a good worker, and where they turn out to be a good human. And finally, I would like to say, empower students, transform the schools, change the world. Let's all start with a simple tip of this empathy. So let us empower our students. Let's bring a change in the world. How do we do it? A very, very simple tool we have with us is our empathy, and it's our emotional intelligence. Thank you all. And the final thing I would say is, how you make others feel about themselves says a lot about you. So when you make someone happy, so that says that you are a very happier person. When you make someone feel good, it shows that you are a very positive vibe person. When you make someone smile, when you talk or when you come or when you say, it says that you are a very, very cheerful person. So let us all make the people feel good about themselves. Whoever we meet, let us spread this positive vibes. Let us give this positivity of emotional intelligence, and let us be more empathetic. So I place this forum to provide this ideas. And thank you, Nazrul sir, and thank you, participants, for being with me for these many minutes. Thank you all. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Priyadarshini, for pinpointing each and every aspect of empathy, which is also a component of emotional intelligence. What you wanted to say that we must be empathized to our students. You mentioned in your lecture that empathy is in fact seeing with the eyes of others, listening to the ears of others, and feeling with the heart of others. So if we can see our students from the eyes of from their eyes, if we can listen to our students from their ears, and if we can feel our students from their heart, then I believe that our classroom, we will be able to make our classroom more effective. And you also mentioned that there are 3 layers of understanding students: peripheral layer, secondary layer, and tertiary layer. And perhaps we are unable to focus this tertiary layer. That means to see or to identify or to address the relationship of the students with others, or the feelings of the students with others. That part I think is not much addressed by the teacher in classroom teaching. And also mentioned that there are 3 types of empathy: affective empathy, that means ability to understand others' emotions; then somatic empathy, that means feeling someone else's pain physically; and cognitive empathy, that means the mentality, understanding the others mental state. So thank you very much for pinpointing these very, very important aspects of empathy. And your research also shows that not only in classroom teaching, we focus only 20%. 20% understand the 20% of the empathy we cover in our classroom teaching, and 50% we feel pity for others. But for making our classroom effective or valuating or understandable to our learners, to our students, we must increase our empathy, not sympathy, to our students, so that they will be able to think by their own, they will be able to understand others, start understand others. Thank you very much, Professor Priyadarshini. If anybody has any question, then we can address one or two questions at this moment. Otherwise, we shall move to the second speaker.
Thank you, sir. If anyone has any question, they can post it in the chat. Thank you for a very wonderful forum. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Professor Priyadarshini. Now, Professor Ajanta is with us. Now, I would like to invite Professor Ajanta Dharmeshwari. Professor Ajanta is presently the director and chairman of the Board of Management of Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardenepura, Sri Lanka. Professor Ajanta is a renowned professor of the world, and he is also one of the experts of this emotional intelligence. So now I would like to request Professor Ajanta to say something on self-awareness and self-monitoring in classroom teaching. Professor Ajanta.
Yes. Thank you very much, Professor Nasrul Islam, for the kind invitation. And my apologies for a few minutes delay in logging in. I had one full day of workshop on emotional intelligence. So, and the traffic and the heavy rains in Colombo City prevented me coming back and logging in on time. My apologies. But anyway, these are challenges in life, and then we are all part of the same vibrant HR community in South Asia. Why I call it HR is humanly rich community in South Asia. So let me invite you to join me when I share a few slides, and then with some PowerPoint slides with perhaps pertinent points to ponder in order to enrich our understanding about how to meaningfully use emotional intelligence in classroom teaching. And they say birds of a feather flock together. I think one commonality all of us are having is that we are engaged in teaching, sharing knowledge, and in turn learning together. So we are all partnering for learning. So let me share my screen. I hope I have, yes, I have sharing rights. Let me share some slides with you. I hope my screen is clear to you.
Yes.
Right. So
yes.
Thank you so much. So I've slightly modified my topic saying EI in classroom teaching. And I think Professor Priyadarshini did a wonderful job in taking you through the diverse aspect of empathy. So I would start from the beginning of the first two components. Before that, PIM is my second home for the past 20 years. And Price College USA is my summer home, where I go there to teach international HR during summer. Chartered Management Institute and Chartered Institute of Personal Management are my professional homes. So I'm the common eye in 4 of those institutes, and where EI plays a key role when I have interactions with different people at different levels with different objectives in mind. So these are my involvements in print media, electronic media, social media, local, regional, and global arena, including Bangladesh. I have my cherished memories in addressing several international conferences in Bangladesh. And recently, I did a virtual conference addressing as well. These are the books that I've written, which emphasizing on emotional intelligence as well. And the latest is the second edition of HRM for Managers, a learning guide. And these are my consultancy engagement, where EI is very much essential. And you can see Bangladesh also in this picture among 25 countries, including the latest was Fiji. Okay, so this is my US teaching. I start in a very formal attire at the beginning of summer. And when the summer hots up, I get into a pair of shorts. That's again demonstrating emotional intelligence in action, getting connected to people, empathizing with the hot weather, and then how people casually wear with regard to classrooms. Okay, so intelligence primarily means what? We got to be brilliant on basics. We got to build our discussion on fundamentals, I presume. The word intelligence comes from the Latin verb intelligere, which means to understand. We got to have a clear understanding, and it also means the ability to learn. So how can we extend this to cover emotions? And the evolution of awareness, to carefully look at it. First, the rational intelligence, where we associate IQ, and it's about the logical, mathematical, linguistic dimensions. Then came the emotional intelligence, then the ultimate one, where the whole being is considered is spiritual intelligence. So we are going to touch upon the middle one, the most versatile one, and perhaps the most practically relevant one to all of us, that is emotional intelligence. So the first, when the term came, people raised this question, is it a contradiction of terms? How can emotions be intelligent? How can intelligence be associated with emotions? And again, we see this issue in the world. People successfully pass the examinations, but they miserably fail in life. They pass exams, but they don't know how to succeed in life. That is the fundamental requirement, where IQ or rational intelligence is not enough. You got to have EI, emotional intelligence. This is equally applicable for teachers and students alike, for any sensible human being. So this is where Publius Cyrus said way back in 1st century BC, rule your feelings, lest your feelings rule you. This is applicable for a teacher. You got to control your feelings. Otherwise, you become a slave to your feelings. So one keyword we come across is feeling. And then, obviously, you can see different facial expressions. I hope you are not talking about me like this when I was late to log in. Any common word, obviously, that's our central theme. Emotions. I would break into two. Emotion, enabling motion, something that drives and propels you to move, to do something, to engage in an action. Enabling motion becomes emotion. So far I mentioned two words, feeling and emotion. How are they connected? Are they interchangeably being used? No, there's a specific meaning to a specific word. As teachers, we need clarity in front of the student community. So I would argue these are some of the demonstrations. Angry versus hungry. So anger is something to do with your body. It is physiological. Whereas, anger to do something with your mind, that is more psychological, where hunger is something to do with your body, which is physiological. So it is both connected with your mind and with your body. It is something to do with your mental state as well as your physical state. So how do we connect? E equals F plus T. Emotion equals feeling plus associated thought. This is the simplest way of me connecting emotion and feeling. Take a simple example. You see someone coming right in front of you, and you get a feeling of little discomfort and feeling of little negativity, and your mind goes back and it reminds you that this person carried tales to your boss, and then that this person really worked against you out of jealousy, and you have the feeling and thought together, and you really get angry and wild. That is the emotion. So this is the fundamental way of looking at it. It's a mind and body connected to give an organized response. You might do that as a teacher, and the students will do that to you as your learning partners. So while not universally accepted, they appear to be 6 basic emotions: anger, fear, sadness, happiness, disgust, and surprise. If you look at these 6, it's very clear there are more negative emotions in the world than positive emotions. Anger, negative; fear, negative; sadness, negative; happiness, positive; disgust, again negative; surprise can be neutral. So that's why the world is full of misery. World is full of suffering. Instead of joy, there's a lot of sadness because of this aspect. So we got to promote positivity. As teachers, I would prefer a teacher to be a radiator and reflector of positivity, being energetic, being positive, being enthusiastic. Otherwise, if you go in front of a student community with demotivation, frustration, and you inflict that, you infect them with that negativity. So that is starting point. So this is what I really like. Antonio Damasio, a Portuguese-born American scientist, who said emotions are bioregulatory reactions. It is something to do with your brain, the chemical reactions taking place in your brain. It's very easy from the literary point of view, from the story point of view. We associate emotions with the heart. And we look at the Valentine's Day and say the heart is involved with loving. But heart is just a blood pumping machine. It is your brain, the chemical reaction that is taking place in the brain that is important. And then comes these two joint researchers, John May and Peter Salovey, who says people who are high in EI are expected to progress more quickly through the abilities designated and to master more of them. So EI is nothing new. All great religious leaders were emotionally intelligent. They demonstrated emotional intelligence, but co-formulated as a management concept. What was there in the society is now getting branded, is getting focused, is getting highlighted as a concept. That's why we are interested in it. And then comes the famous writer, famous promoter, as Professor Priyadarshini mentioned, Daniel Goleman, a view of human nature that ignores the power of emotions. It's sadly short-sighted. So don't suppress emotions. Don't allow people to keep the emotions within them. They might burst out. That is the earlier approach towards people. Say, don't show your emotions, suppress them, and suffer silently. No, now we say, channel the emotions for success. That's what's happening in the sporting world. If you look at the haka, the Maorian tribal ritual promoted by New Zealand rugby team, it is channeling their emotions for the kill, for the defeat of their rival team. That's what is there. Don't underestimate the power of emotions. Teachers have to keep that in the back of their mind very seriously. Emotions are important. Emotions are crucial. Emotions are significant in order to ensure lasting teaching experience. So I recall with happiness that I met Daniel Goleman. He's now old. I met him in Chicago 2 years ago, and he was asking how is Kandy in Sri Lanka. He has been traveling to South Asia a couple of times, and I have my admiration for him for his writing, immense contribution to promote the concept of emotional intelligence. So coming back, how did they describe it? Emotional intelligence as a capacity. That's why teachers are interested in it. That's why teachers are serious about it. So what is that capacity that he mentions? The capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves and for managing emotions in ourselves and in our relationships. Two key factors, how to take care of myself and how to ensure the right relationship with others. So taking care of myself and taking care of my relationships. Stemming from this, if you focus on the red color words, there are 5 key components coming out. Self-awareness, being aware of yourself. In some of the religions, they talk about sati, See here, being conscious, mindfulness, living in the present moment. Psychologists say we carry two heavy bags. We don't put them aside. We carry that heavy load. One is called the past, other one is called the future. We are not living in the right moment right now. That's why there's a beautiful book called Power of Now. And this is the best gift you can give to someone is your present. Your presence will become a present, a gift. You being with that person when that person needs you. That's applicable to teachers, my dear colleagues, my dear friends. And then self-regulation, being aware and then try to regulate, try to streamline, try to manage, try to control. So I'll confine myself to these two. And I think self-motivation is the inner propelling drive towards action. And then empathy was beautifully covered earlier. And then culmination of all social skills, effective relationships, and then you have your social connections. So let me dwell now focusing on teaching. A teacher as a designer, deliverer, and a developer. Designer of a particular module, designer of a particular course, and delivering that particular module. And in turn, developing the students with the right set of learning outcomes. So one key word associating with that is communication. You communicate, communicate, communicate. How do you demonstrate EI in communication? Obviously, you need to communicate with confidence. So I would always go in front of a class keeping this in the back of my mind. Honestly, I was inspired by what Saint Mother Teresa of Kolkata mentioned about priests who are having holy masses. So I adapted it for lecturing. I always tell myself internally, I tell to my inner being, this is going to be my first session, best session, and last session. Why first session? I'm excited. I want to do something refreshingly new. It's going to be my first session. It's going to be my best session. I'm going to excel myself. Excellence is exceeding expectations. And then it's going to be my last session means, I mean, not that I'm going to immediately collapse and die, but it should be memorable, ecstatic as that. So exciting, excellent, and ecstatic. As the first session, as the best session, perhaps as the last session. Of course, there's a sad movie about Last Lecture by an IT professor in Carnegie Mellon University, USA, who was diagnosed with the cancer and who died in a couple of months. He actually gave a last lecture that became his last lecture. I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to it should be memorable as your last lecture. So that's where the designing, delivering, and developing come into the scene. So first, let me begin with the context, environment. You should know the target audience. Are you teaching an undergraduate class? Are you teaching a postgraduate class? Are you teaching a doctoral student level community? So your pitching level has to be different according to the environment. Sometimes they might be more teacher-centric, but you need to move more from teacher-centric to student-centric, where you engage them. So you need to have the context properly. And this is more challenging with regard to executive development programs. I'm sure your university also is having some programs for working executives, leaders of business organizations, where sometimes they are more experienced than you as a teacher. So there you do the learning facilitation, you tap their expertise, you invite them to share their experience, and then you link that to a particular framework or to a model or to a process where you give something back to them in return, where they are happy that they were connected and what they already knew got enhanced and enriched. That is the context that you need to focus on. Other one is the content, the essentials, the fundamentals, what you are going to teach, what you need to have in your learning plan. Sad to say, I'm sorry to say, I have been seeing this frustrating experience. A lot of people put up slides with tiny, tiny, tiny letters with very little fonts where no one can read a thing. So what is the point? You just copy and paste chunks from a Word document, from another document, paragraphs after paragraphs after paragraphs. For whom? So you need to have the contents properly identified. It is not the big chunk of paragraphs. It's just key points, big, bold, and brilliant. 3 Bs. Just few points. You elaborate the points the way you discuss with them. Don't put everything. Then you become a reader of slides, not just teach in front of the class. Remember, you are having a theatrical performance in front of an audience and they expect that engagement. If you are not engaging them, they will easily get cut off. Now with the availability of mobile phones, they might easily get distracted with their SMSs, WhatsApp, Viber, and other stuff. So you need to get them engaged by way of communicating confidently. So contents should be appealing to them, should be relevant to them, should be of high quality content. And finally, for me, the biggest impacting factor is conducting, execution of a program, execution of a lecture, execution of a session. You can either be a sage on the stage if it is physical session. If it is a virtual session, you can be a guide on the side where you are seen on the bust. So no matter what you wear underneath, it's immaterial, only the bust is seen. So whether you are sage on the stage or a guide on the side, in both cases, conducting matters. Execution matters. Execution brings excellent results. So there, first thing, you need to be self-aware who I am, my current emotional state. What are the things that I'm going to cover, the big picture in mind, the session plan in mind, the 3 key things that I'm going to deliver. At the end of the session, 3 key takeaways from them. Sad to say, sometimes we put points after points after points after point, and we miss the point. What is the central point? What is the real crux of the matter? What is the central theme around which other things are getting connected? We have multitude of points where people don't have 3 key takeaways. I'm very particular about at least, because 3 is a round number, so it's easy to remember 3 key takeaways. So you need to have the right context, you need to have the right contents, and you need to have the right conduct. Execution matters. And also you need to be aware of the emotional state of the students in front of you. Are they fresh? I see the difference between conducting a session at the very beginning of a day on a holiday versus evening class for working managers where they come after a heavy day of work. A big difference of the energy level, a big difference of the refreshing mind that they have. So you need to pitch accordingly. So I had to put extra effort when I do an evening lecture where they had already been exposed during the day for a variety of things. So engaging them is a huge challenge. So I need to be aware of their mental state and my mental state, self-awareness. And self-regulation. You need to be conscious about your emotional level. You can't get, you can't get angry and shout at them. You need to demonstrate your maturity. You need to demonstrate your way of conducting yourself. You might get angry about a particular behavior, but you can't react. As Stephen Covey says, responsibility. How do you respond to a stimulus? You see a student is sleeping. You see 2 students are having their own chat disregarding your session. It happened to me once. I saw this happening a couple of times. So I openly went to them and said, am I disturbing your talk? And the whole class started laughing. And then they were so ashamed. And after the session, they came and apologized to me. And I did not see that behavior thereafter. So I didn't blame them. I didn't blackguard them. I didn't ask them to go out of the class. I used humor. Humor is a very powerful way of demonstrating your emotional maturity and then ensuring that people are really engaged. So the power of humor. To whom should we laugh? I would say laugh in a lighter manner without insulting anyone, without insulting someone's race, religion, and background, but just to have that relaxation and then ensure that you engage the student. So remember, execution involves three things: exploring a particular topic, expanding their learning horizons, and engaging right throughout. So conduct, context, and contents would ensure that you demonstrate your self-awareness and self-regulation. You might feel tired. When I feel tired, when my legs are paining in front of a class, I give them a question and I say, take 5 minutes, talk to your neighbor and discuss with your neighbor and come back with your answers. And I sit down and take a glass of water, and that gives me a rest. So because I'm aware of my energy level, I'm aware of my stamina, I'm aware of my level of focus, particularly if you have a sleepless night due to illness or some other factor. When you go fresh in the morning to a class, you have to be conscious that I was disturbed my sleep, so I should not put that irritation or that frustration in front of the students by shouting at them, by throwing things at them, by finding fault with them. No, that is the self-awareness of a teacher. So remember, you should be aware how to design, how to deliver, how to develop. So these are some of the practical things that I enjoyed and I experienced in Sri Lanka, in US with my summer teaching, and few other countries where I visited and conducted sessions, including Bangladesh. So it's a journey that we need to move on. So one key aspect, you've got to be mindful about your mental and emotional and physical state, being conscious, being mindful. This is, for me, the key word I would strongly emphasize. Be mindful in every step that you take as a teacher. So the problem is we are not mindful, but we are mindful, full of a lot of things. Sad to say, with the digital phones, the smart devices, our mind is full. We get text messages, what's happening in US with Donald Trump creating havoc, and we get distracted. So mind is full, we are not mindful. So shift from mindful to mindful. Mindfulness is a beautiful feature that you need to have in you, being conscious of your physical state, mental state, and emotional state. That's what I would strongly recommend. And mind you, my dear friends, you can't achieve great success overnight. It needs long-term effort. So I would say, if it is to be, it's up to me. Don't blame your leaders. Don't blame the people around you. Don't blame the poor students. It's up to you. It's up to me. It's a determination to strengthen our emotional intelligence. Apart from the rational intelligence, you got to be emotionally intelligent. Leaders should be 70% higher emotionally intelligent than others. That's what the statistics reveal. So teachers should have greater demonstration of emotional intelligence. So it's a journey. May that journey be truly an enriching, engaging, and excelling one. I wish you good luck. All the very best to all of you. You can visit my website. There are plenty of articles, video clippings, and other supporting materials for you to expand your horizons. And that's all I have got for you tonight. Thank you for inviting me. I wish all the success for the remaining part of this wonderful workshop. And I think it's not too late to wish a productive, peaceful, prosperous 2021, which is full of emotional intelligence to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Ajanta Dharmeshwari, for pinpointing some practical experiences and emotional intelligence, and also for giving the formula emotions is equal to F plus T, feeling and associative thoughts, and also for being a good teacher. Teachers are basically play three roles: as designer, as deliverer, and developer, and they must be able to communicate, and they must have confidence to handle the class, to be effective in classroom teaching. Thank you very much, Professor Ajanta, for your valuable thoughts, expressing your valuable thoughts on emotional intelligence and classroom teaching. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, now we are giving 5 minutes break because we have time constraint. So after 5-minute break, we are coming back. And then after that, we have two more speakers, Professor Arhan Thapit and Professor Dr. Ezaz Ahmed. So we are coming back in 10 minutes. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. So I just I want to end the session now, sir. Can I do this?
Yeah, we are
Okay,
coming back in 5 minutes. So we are reconnecting after 5 minutes.
Okay, sir. I just give the second session link in the chat box.
Okay.
So the participants, they can just click the link from here. Thank you, sir.
স্যার 3 ঘন্টার একটা
Is it required?
3 ঘন্টার একটা আছে, এখন কেটে যাবে, এইজন্য আমরা সেকেন্ড সেশন শুরু করতেছি।
না ঠিক আছে, ব্রেক দিতে ভালো, কিন্তু আমাকে একটা জাস্ট 5টা মিনিট দিয়ে এর পরে ব্রেক ওপেন হলে
আপনাকে তো আগেই দিয়ে দেই স্যার।
হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, আমি চলে যাব, বেশিক্ষণ বসতে পারবো না। হ্যাঁ।
So Ibrahim, shall we disconnect and then connect?
We are still connected, sir.
The chat box said Mr. Ibrahim is giving the link in the chat box, sir. We can connect from here.
Okay. So
I just want to stop it now, sir.
Okay.
shall
Okay,
we
thank you.
disconnect now and then
required to disconnect?
No, I just make it session the end. That's
okay.
okay. Thank you,
Just
sir.
revive this session. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.